Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Always Tell Me the Odds, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast. I am Magnus, and with me, as usual, is Marcus.
Hello, hello.
How are you today, Marcus?
I'm doing good. Doing really good. Being here, talking about Star Wars Unlimited, as we usually do on Mondays, is always good.
Yeah, it's a fun, I wouldn't say end of the day because we're not really at the end of the day yet, but it's a fun after work activity on Mondays.
It is. It's a good start of the week. Mondays are sometimes Mondays are a little bit hard because it's Monday, you have a full work week ahead of you, but it's nice to, like, in the end of the work day on Mondays, just sit down and chat about this thing. It's also so that's nice. How are you doing today? You doing well too?
I'm doing well, yes. After a fun weekend with a lot of games and stuff. So, I mean, we could go into that right away, what we've been doing. So you, me, and two other friends, we met up on a Saturday, mostly to play another game, actually. Classic. We have a friend, Pedro. He's made this amazing Space Hulk board game from scratch. It's
insane. It's beyond amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's beyond amazing. It's not possible to make it to just, like, words can't describe how cool it is. So, but that it's a lot of lighting and stuff as well. So you usually want to play it when it's getting dark outside, and so.
Should we just describe? It's like, so Space Hulk is from you're using, like, Space Marines from Warhammer, if the listeners know what that is, and then he have made handcrafted and terrain bashing together a space station, which he in insane details and put in a lot of LED lights, and he have made digital boxes to keeping count of shots and stuff like that. It's insane. So it's a completely dark room. You light this whole, like, space station up, and you play there, Space Marines against Alien. It's crazy the amount of time you have put into that. It's really cool.
It's really amazing.
It's crazy.
So it's super fun to play.
Yeah, for sure. But as you said, we did that when it got dark, but because we met up 2 in the afternoon.
We thought, why not do a sealed 4 players?
Exactly.
It's just enough to crack a box and do a sealed. And so that's what we did, actually. We had some beers, cracked the box, opened some packs. That's always nice, and played some games of sealed. So we started off by just like making our decks and playing regular sealed games, which is super fun. And this is a great set to play sealed.
It really is. What did you play there?
I did play Rose Tico. Feels like she's a really good both draft and sealed leader. So when you get, like, the cards for her as a leader, it feels like it's you should choose her. I didn't get any other really, like, interesting leaders, I think. Because this was just, was of course only for fun. So if I've gotten a leader that I wanted to try out, I might have just taken that instead. But my card pool was like really well made for Rose as a leader.
You had a really good deck there, for sure.
Yeah. But I think you did beat me in the last game.
I did. I played Luke.
So that was...
I got really, really shitty cards. When I got them, I was like, how this will not even be a deck. I didn't draw any legendaries, only rares, and some of the rares I couldn't use because they're not good cards, and it was very hard to build a deck, actually. And I met one of our friends in the first game, and it was absolutely smashed in two games. It's like I had no chance. But then the other 2 games against you and our second friend, I won both of those for some reason. So that was interesting. But it was But Gustav drew all the good cards, as usual.
Yeah, he did as
as usual.
almost. I did manage to draw a legendary myself, so I'm not
Yeah,
that
that's
disappointed. But
yeah, that's nice.
he got a few of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he played Von Reg, and the Pedro played Luke also. So we were two Luke, one Tico, and one Von Reg. So that was nice, very nice.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
And then we got the idea of
Yes.
like we're 4 people, so why not try to make Twin Suns decks out of these sealed pool as well?
Yeah.
We decided to go for 50 cards in a
Yep.
deck. I think that was a bit of a mistake. I think we should have kept it to 40 cards, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I had 50
I
cards
meant-
in my colors, in my aspects. I had 50 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was I had to take out 4 of them afterwards because I couldn't use them, so I put in some colorless cards there. But it was a stretch for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have enough cards even, so I had to put in. But I could take like a few of the good villainy cards that I got in my card pool. I put those in, and I mean, I don't think I played any of them, but they could have been times where they were good enough to play.
Yeah.
But that's why I think if we kept it to 50 cards,
40.
I think, or 40, sorry,
40,
yeah. I think the might have been a bit better off, actually.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
then
you
again,
need resources, so...
Yeah, you can, and that's a good thing about this game. You can play all the cards. It just costs you more resources.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think both you and me did go for Rose and Luke as a pair.
Yeah. We did.
Which color base did you have for that?
Ooh, I think I went with green.
Yeah, I think you did, because I went with yellow, so our decks weren't completely the same.
Exactly.
No,
because I played Luke green when we did the ordinary sealed, and then I just put in Rose and put in all my blue cards. So
yeah. And Gustav played Thrawn and Von Reg.
Yeah.
And Pedro played Luke and Akbar.
Yes. And there was it was chaotic as Twin Suns always is, and but it was a lot of fun. It worked really well, actually.
It did. That's why we really wanted to like talk about it today, because it felt like a really fun way to play a sealed. If you're 4 people or just even more people just want to do something else with your sealed. This was it worked really well. I almost didn't feel like you got that much worse decks than when you do your normal Twin Suns decks.
No, I mean I haven't played a ton of Twin Suns, but since you have singletons in the deck, you only have 1 card of each. Then it's a very much of a random game when whatever you draw there. And so now you just got the cards in there and played. And I also think it's a good way to because when you only play the ordinary sealed, when you play the 1v1 matches, there's a lot of the cards you never use, you just put them away. But in this way you can build a deck and play 1v1, but then you can also pick up more of the cards you got. And I was a little bit surprised how well it worked, actually. It was
and as of course we didn't go for the singleton.
No.
That wouldn't have worked.
That would
at
be
all.
Impossible. No.
And I guess that also makes it a bit different from the normal Twin Suns. So it was a fun addition that you actually can have more than one of your good cards.
Yeah.
So I guess that probably weighed up the downfall of you having to put all of your cards in. Probably. That you also did have a few, more than one of a few of the good cards in the deck.
Sure. So we didn't have any restrictions on it. It was just put all the cards you need and can into the deck, and then we play according to rules. So yeah.
As we said, only restriction we choose were 50 cards.
Yeah.
But when you do sealed with 6 booster packs, I think there could be maybe is a bit too many cards in the deck. But it worked well. So, but I think
40 might have been better.
Definitely worth experimenting with this variation of sealed, because I think we all four of us thought it was really fun to play.
We had a lot of fun with that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone,
and we also,
yeah, sorry, you go.
I said we also, because of this, we also started to think, okay, so next time if we want to do a draft for Twin Suns, how many booster packs should we use?
Yeah. What did we land in there? Like 6 booster packs, or?
I mean, the sealed is 6, and you can draft a normal deck with only 3 boosters. So I guess it depends on how many cards you're gonna make people have in their decks.
True.
But if you go with 40 or 50, maybe you should draft like 4 or 5 boosters.
Boosters, yeah.
I think it's good if you can keep the drafts parts down a bit, so you don't have to draft 5 boosters, because that will take quite a while to draft.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you should try out with 40 cards in the deck and draft 4 booster packs, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe we should try that.
Yeah, we really need to try that. It's going to be a lot more, I mean, very much so, a lot better decks when you draft. Yeah. Especially if you have you're drafting for Twin Suns in mind, because then you can pick 3 colors instead of 2.
Exactly.
That you normally draw.
Yeah, exactly.
You can take all the good cards from 3 colors instead.
For sure.
So I really
need to try that.
Really need to try that out, because I think that would also be very fun to do.
Yeah, true. And for all of you who are listening here, like if you ever try to make a sealed Twin Suns, or you draft a Twin Sun, please let us know how it went and what do you think about it, because we really enjoyed it. So we'd love to hear from you if you try it, what your experience was. For sure.
We can really recommend trying it out.
Absolutely.
Because it was very fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely so. So, except for this, we wanted to talk a little bit what have been happening last week, and a little bit some thoughts around that, right? Because there have been, 3 really big tournaments going on in the competitive world of Star Wars Unlimited.
It has. At least 3 sectors, right? Milano, Liverpool, and Denver.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had
in Atlanta.
One
also?
more in. Yeah, it could be Atlanta as well. Yeah. Probably is a sector as well.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So the thing we thought we should talk about, because it's on everyone's mind, I think, who plays the game, is the Jango-verse, into the Jango-verse.
The Jango-verse.
I mean, if you follow tournaments, you can't miss that Jango Tarkin Town's been everywhere, and showing up in a lot, like big numbers of players.
Yeah.
So we thought, why not at least talk a little bit about this, and I'm very curious to hear if you have any thoughts on this, Marcus, because you're a very new player, and I mean, I guess only the thought of meta is a new concept for you.
Yep.
So, do you think this is good or bad, or just your thoughts, about this?
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, meta. When I heard that first, everybody was talking about the meta. I was like, what is that? So somebody had to tell me that a meta in a game like this is like the decks that are being played. So, for instance, the meta for the last set was a lot of Sabines and Cad Bane and Bosk and so on. So those are called the meta. So it's kind of how I understand it. It's like the most common decks that you see show up in tournaments and in gameplay. That is right.
Yeah, that's I mean, can probably define it a bit differently, but it's in the big picture. It's if you're showing up to a tournament, the tournament's meta is all the decks that are played.
Yeah, So that was very confusing in the beginning. What is that? But now I kind of understand what that is. And then now when we have seen in both Milano, in Liverpool, and in Denver, the three that I haven't followed them, but I've heard a lot about it. And also in our own tournament that we had in Malmö, the SWU Malmö Open qualifiers, there was a lot of Jango players.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot of talk about banning Jango or banning cards that Jango are using and so on. And it makes me a little bit confused because I was like, I have no clue. I see that the deck is very good, and it's I have played against it a number of times, and it is a very hard deck to play against. But then again, I also see that, for instance, in Malmö, there was a lot of Jangos, but it was a Queenland that won in the end. And I also see that there's other decks coming in and beating Jango. So, I'm super new, so I don't know if it's a problem or not. But in my head, it's like I only think that... So what I think is that I more see it as there's no one have cracked the code for another deck to beat Jango. And I think as soon as I see someone crack that code, Jango will probably go down in frequency and the other one goes up. That's how I think about it. But then again, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is for me. It's a little. I like variety. I like to have different. I love, for instance, when I met the Obi-Wan deck in Malmö, because I was like, oh my god, an Obi-Wan, that's so cool. I don't often see that, so I had a lot of fun playing that. And I get a little bit bored, for instance, when on the PQ in Copenhagen, I was up against 3 Cad Bane, 2 Bosk, and a Sabine. And I was like, oh my god, another Cad Bane. I don't want to. There's like, it gets a little bit boring to only have the same thing. And it's the same thing if I play on Carabast now. It's just Jango all the time. And I don't care if it's a good deck or not. I win sometimes and sometimes I don't. I don't care about that. But it's the same thing over and over. So it's a little bit boring. We have more leaders. So I would love to see and play against more leaders. So, but yeah.
I think that's a good point to actually weigh in the if you're gonna ban something or not. That it's not always just about of course you can beat Jango with some decks.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of it is what you're talking about as well. It's most of us probably do feel it's more fun to like show up to a tournament and face 6 different decks than to face the same deck 6 times. Probably there is some people who really like to really face play against the same deck all the time, but I think most of us actually do want diversity in what we play against.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the biggest problem when a deck, because there's always going to be a deck that's like the best deck, called the best deck in the meta, or like the most consistent deck. That's probably always going to be the case.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, and me included, I think there is probably a line somewhere there that when you cross that line with how many people played that deck, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Because it does what you said. It's like it's not fun to show up to a tournament and a 6-round Swiss and you always know that, okay, 6 rounds I'm gonna face 3 Jangos and 3 other decks. That's probably not what you want in a game.
No.
If a deck is like 50% of the meta, that's probably a problem, even if it's beatable and such. Because if you have a deck that for some reason a lot of people go to and choose, that can be a problem for the game, I think.
Yeah. And also, if people choose Jango, it's a good deck. I get that because I see when they play it, and I played against it also. It's a good deck, and I understand why if people want to win, of course they choose that deck. But I I don't know if for me that's not as important, to be honest. I want to have fun with the game, and I also think sometimes like if everybody's playing the same deck, it would be easier to tech against that. I talked a little bit about that with Spessy, the guy who was in one of the short interviews in our last episode. He was playing Luke Skywalker because he liked the leader, he didn't like the other leaders, and when we have discussed or in Discord with him, he was like, I will tech this against Jango 100%. And he actually did very well in Liverpool against Jango. So, I mean, it's beatable. And but I think the problem is more that we get a in quotation mark boring game because all the decks are the same. I don't see a problem. It's a good deck. I get that, and I also get why people choose it. But the game gets a little bit boring, like in whole.
Yeah, because we have so many leaders. It's quite sad if we only play one or two. And then the problem could be with a deck like this. It's not always that it's not beatable, but because if you take your deck to only beat Jango, probably a lot of decks can do that. The problem sometimes there is that if you take your deck that much against a single deck, you're gonna be quite bad against the other decks in the meta because it's not 100% Jango.
Yeah.
So you're making your deck really bad against other decks, but you can always win against Jango.
Yeah.
That won't take you that far in a tournament, probably because even if he's super good and a lot of players play him, as it has been in these tournaments, he's showed up at around, I think he was 26% in Milano, but were only like 20%, 19 or 20% of the decks played were Jango in Liverpool.
Yeah.
However, the conversion rate to day 2, meaning how many players made it into day 2, you got 40% Jango players in day 2. So
that's a lot.
A lot of Jango players made it into day 2.
Yeah.
And that shows how good the deck is, I think, as well, because
I heard some players, some of the newer players we have in our local community, and they said that I was like, I'm a little bit afraid that it's so many Jangos because I know that I will not win, and that will be a boring tournament for me. And it would be nice to try against other decks. Then again, I don't think a tournament maybe is not the right place to do that. Like I mean, it's all about expectation. If you go in there expecting that you will meet a lot of different leaders, I think you have the wrong expectations, because I think you should go in there and expect to meet the best leaders. Because we shouldn't forget that Queenland is also very present and also a very good deck. So it's a lot of the decks are Jangos and Queenland, but the conversion rate is I think that's very telling how dominant the deck is. But I don't know. I did not play the game while Boba was very prominent, and so I don't know how that would feel like if I would play there, and so I can't compare them. If Jango is as big a problem as Boba was, for instance, but because I
think for me personally, I'm not really sure if I needed a ban for Jango or some of the cards he's using now. If I choose myself, of course, I don't want this meta to be 40% Jango, or like an even bigger problem is when it goes so far as in Milano, where 7 out of 8 in the top 8 is a Jango Tarkin Town deck. That feels really bad for me personally.
Yeah, it's a bit
I
sad.
really like it when, I mean, if there are 20% of the field is playing Jango, but the top 8 is 8 different decks and one Jango. That's okay for me.
Yeah, sure.
Then it's not a problem for me. The problem becomes more with the conversion rate, as you say.
It's too
Like
high.
for every day, like from day 1 to day 2, there were a lot more Jangos in day 2, 40%. So if you played four rounds in day 2, you probably face Jango 2 times.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's a problem for me.
True. But also,
so
yeah. No, but I think I don't know. We'll see. What was it? They will talk about it on their next stream, I think, and that's on when is that?
Wednesday. So
Wednesday. So
when same day as this releases.
Yeah. Probably. So I don't know if this will be released first or FFG will have their stream first. But we'll see. Yeah. But also, if we think about those big tournaments, I didn't follow them very closely, but I read up some on Discord when people were writing, and I kind of had one eye on some of the streams and so on. But what really excited me was when I saw, for instance, in Denver, there was a Yoda deck, a Yoda Blue, I think it was. No, Yoda Green. And the match that I saw, he beat the Jango Tarkin down, and he was 5-0. So he had won 5 matches with Yoda, and I was like, oh yeah, because I always like those underdogs, and Yoda is one of my favorites. I played him as a leader the last set together with Ray and so on, but I was like super happy when I saw that. And also I think it was in Liverpool, there was an Obi-Wan in the top 8. I was like, yay, it's an Obi-Wan. It's like, so I always root for those like underdogs coming in. Of course they didn't end up in the top, but I love those quirky decks that comes in and they're a little bit different, and I really like that. I lose interest when the top 8 is 7 Jangos. I lose interest because I mean they are super good players and I very much respect them for that, but I lose interest in watching the game. So I'd go do something else. I go play on Karabast, or I go play with you people in the local group or something, and I love to build those like different decks. I built a Padme deck some time ago and played in the local group, and I got absolutely hammered, but that's okay. I had a lot of fun with it, and also some people had a little bit of problem with the deck because they didn't expect it, they didn't know what was in the deck. So I actually could, in some matchups, I could actually do do pretty good, and I think that is. Or I will continue to do that even in tournaments. Go there with a leader that I really enjoy and is a little bit different, and maybe consciously I choose not to play Jango because I know so many other people will play them. So I was like, I'm not interested in playing them then.
And you shouldn't forget that if you expect that many Jangos to bring Jango yourself, you really need to be a good Jango player because you're probably going to get the mirror match a few times.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's all mirror matches are often very hard to play because it's so similar decks.
Yeah, and I mean the deck doesn't play itself. There's a player behind that is really, really good, and we shouldn't forget that. So, yeah.
And again, in this game, at least you can make your Jango deck or any other leader in very different ways from each other.
Yeah.
I feel that's one of the very strong things in this game.
Yeah,
when I last played Magic, it was like often it was okay. If you want to play this deck, you should have these 60 cards. That is the best. That is the best cards for this specific deck. But in Star Wars Unlimited, it's hard to say. So if you want to play Jango Tarkatan, you should have these exact 50 cards. That's not how you need to do it. You can take a few out and in and make it to like make it better for you as a player or what you think you're gonna face and such. So that's actually a good thing. I don't think all of these Jangos did not, of course, not look exactly the same. There were probably quite some variations within the deck, but it's still a problem. And I think the thing you're talking about bringing like the off meta, I think both you and me really like off meta decks. It's fun, and I really like a shout out to FFG how they did in these sectors and above tournaments that the best player with any given leader that makes it to top 64 gets a showcase.
Oh yeah, I love
So
that.
it actually gives you like a goal, even
Yeah.
if you don't want to play like that, okay, I'm not going to go to top 8 because
Yeah.
it's very hard to do with the leader I like to play, but I'm actually a good player with that leader. To make it to top 64 is still very hard, of course, in
Yeah.
a tournament with 400 or 500 players
For
that
sure.
these tournaments had. But it's a more achievable goal, and you get rewarded with a showcase if you're the best in with any given leader, if you can make it to top 64 at least.
I love
And
a
that's
challenge like that.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I think they
A
should
really
do more
nice
like
way.
that. That's like, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a tournament. You should try to win a tournament. I am in a competitive game. You should try to win this tournament. That is should be your biggest goal, of course. But I love when they put in small challenges like that, and this was, and I think that was really, really good. I hope they continue to do that, and I hope they find new like more challenges like that. I really like that. And also it's like it's a little bit like, I mean, that's not the same thing, but I was very, also because I was targeted there, but I was very happy that the 3 last places in the tournament in Malmö got those deck boxes, because it's like, I don't know if it's a good thing. It's not a challenge, and it's like, yay, I was last place. But it was kind of nice actually, because I have no chance whatsoever to win the tournament. So it was nice to get a prize, or if you like, you can even raffle out prizes or something. But I think challenges like the ones you just mentioned, what if you get to the top 64 and you are the best player with a certain leader, you get a showcase of that leader. I think that's a super nice one. Well done, FFG, for sure.
I also very much like, as you say, like raffles and participation prizes and stuff like that, because you want a lot of people when you have these kind of tournaments. It's that's the fun part. You get to meet people, you get to play fun games. And like, there is only going to be one winner, one out of 400 or 500 players. Of course, there's going to be 8 top 8 players and so on, but it's not very likely to go to a tournament. And of course, you're going to try to win it, but as we say, only one player wins. So it's very nice if you have quite a big part of the prizes go to participation, or you raffle out, or you do in any kind of way, like, or like this way with the showcases. That's a really nice way of doing it. So
I think so too.
I also like that as well.
I think that is how you build a very nice community, and a strong community that is good for the game in the long run, which will make the game live for a long time. Because out of 500 players, there are 499 that do not win. And to keep them engaged and keep them coming back and like engaging in the game further on, I think that is a very good thing to do to make a healthy community out of it, for sure.
I think so. So if we come back to, I think we both agree on that they should do something about Jango, right? We want another.
I think
we want another meta for the game. It's a bit too many Jangos. I think he's past the point of it's too many to be fine.
It makes the game a little bit boring. For sure.
So
they should.
Do you have any suggestions to what to do? What to do with Jango?
I mean, you could. I heard. I don't know where I heard this, but I heard someone say freeze him in carbonite and thaw him up in the next set. I mean, something like that.
That as a suspension or a ban is they can remove it whenever they want. So I think the easiest way is just to ban the leader. Probably.
I mean, you can also, like, I don't know how they did that. Like, I know nothing about how to construct a game like this. It's like it's way beyond my mind how you get together all these cards that they actually work as well together as they do. Of course, there will be stuff like this happening, but when you what I think so. So this is very newbie thought, but I think if you, for instance, if Jango did not exhaust all units on the board when they were damaged, or if you put in a cost, like a one cost for him exhausting a unit, like Rey has when she gives an experience token, she needs to pay one. So if Jango had something like that, you can pay one and then you can exhaust a unit. You can exhaust a second unit, but then you can need to pay one more resource. So you put in a little bit more cost into it, then I don't think he will become as strong. And then I have seen other people saying that maybe banning this triple dark raid, which is a card that you play and you can look at the 7 top card. It is, right? 7?
Yeah, 7 cards.
And find a vehicle that you can play that costs, what is it, 5 less or 6 less?
5 less.
5 less. And I don't know if that's a good idea, actually, because then you take away a card that's also used by other decks and it might mess up other things. So because there are so many threats going together here. But either you could also errata him, that change something, put in a cost for exhausting units, for instance, instead of banning him. But I don't know.
That is I mean, probably if they, with like now that we know he's probably a bit too strong. So
Yeah.
I think also that a bit of that we've discussed it in our local group, and I think I don't know who said, I think it was Emil probably, that the problem with him could be that when he is deployed, he taps down everything. As soon as something gets damaged, he taps it down. A lot of leaders still only like do it once per turn or something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
I think that would have changed a lot.
I think so too.
And again, I think looks like Fantasy Flight wants to stay away from changing cards, doing erratas or like changing it completely, because it's a physical card game. It is kind of a feel bad to open a card and it doesn't work like it says on the card for new players and such.
True.
Of course, for tournament players, it wouldn't be a problem, because if you go into tournaments, you probably have
they know
you follow the news and like you know if a card is it's changed.
It might be messy like if you start errata cards for sure. Yeah,
it can be very messy if you get like a super long list after a few years with cards that are changed and stuff. So I think they're trying to keep away from that.
Yeah.
Like they did with Boba, they could have changed his stats or something, but they banned him instead and said that maybe he comes back in the future when he would work in the meta. And I think that I think they'll, if I have to guess, I think they'll do the same with Jango. I think they will ban or suspend Jango himself.
I mean, it's a good idea.
And then we might see him come back.
Yeah.
But for I don't have anything that I would prefer more or less, I think, because as you said before, it's super hard to know what happens if you take away triple dark raid, or if you take away another card, what happens to every other deck and what ends up being the best deck. I'm glad I'm not working with that. That is not my decision to do this in FFG.
But I mean, you can if you ban him. I mean, you ban him. You try it out. It's like you can try it. If it doesn't work, if there's another leader coming up taking that position, well, then you have to deal with that then. And because I think it's. But I don't know. I wonder who on FFG has a really soft spot for the Fett family, because both Boba and Jango, and if you compare, because I have been thinking about this a little bit when I started. I don't ventilate this too much because I don't think it's it's not super relevant. But sometimes I'm thinking a little bit, because since I have played a lot of Rey, and Rey, her ability is that I pay 1 and I can give him an experience token to a unit that has 2 or less in power. And that is not like super good. First of all, it costs 1 resource, so I'm always 1 behind. And also 2 or less in power. There's not a lot of troops having that. So it's not like super strong ability she has. But I like it, so I play her. But Jango, when he deploys and you put out for instance a war juggernaut, it doesn't matter if I have my Rex horde like swarm deck that has 12 units out, because he just taps everything down and then I lose. So I sometimes I'm like, why do they make him so strong and others so weak? They must see that when they play, they like try them out. It's a little bit weird to me, but again, I'm not a game developer, so I don't know.
Yeah, stuff like this gets missed. I mean, they can't test this game even close to how many games are played when they actually releases every set.
Yeah, there's an infinite number of decks to build, though.
Yeah, sometimes you can feel like they should have known that this would happen, and I think some of them didn't know at least now. But you have to like think about as well that this set 4, they made this for like 2 years ago or something like that.
And also it's a new game already. Still,
it's a new game.
Yeah, so they don't know how the players would react on different cards and what decks they would build and so on. And I
think it will get better in the future as
get more used to it and more experience building it.
The longer we go and the more sets, they'll get more experience to building this game and such. So I think that's going to get better.
I don't think
I was just going to say as well that the most important thing for me isn't what they ban or what they change right now. The most important thing for me is that I want to see now on Wednesday the 9th is that they do something, that they show us as players that they see that this is a problem and that they want to try to fix it. And try to do some change. And might not be the best change. We don't know. Nobody knows that. But as long as they do something, I think I'm gonna be happy about it.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't care if they ban him or not. I don't see it as a problem. I'm tired of meeting Jango all the time now, but that's maybe so. If people want to play him, let them play him. I can play against them. That's fine. But what I want to see from FFG is at least them addressing it. That okay, we see that this is a problem. We're thinking about it, or we are doing this. We're trying this out, and then that the community is like, okay, we hear you. You want to change something, you want to make the game better and be satisfied with the decision that FFD makes, because there's so much going on behind the scenes there that I as a player doesn't see. So, but I want them to address it. It's like to acknowledge the community and say that we hear you and we see that this is a challenge for us and for the game, and we are thinking about it, or we are doing this to try to fix it or whatever.
And also, I mean, it's of course in their own interest to have a nice and diverse game, because I think if you're outside looking in, should I start playing Star Wars Unlimited?
Yeah.
Start to Google and looking how is the tournament scene, and you see last 3 tournaments we had 7 out of 8 Jango Tarkentown in the top 8. I don't think that's good for the game.
Probably not
at all. So I think as my biggest fear, if you could call it a fear, I don't know, it's a card game, but is that they just come back and talk about the meta and say okay, we see that Jango is strong, but we want to wait and see.
Yeah,
I really want them to act and not wait. Yeah, when things like this happen.
Yeah, but, I agree on that. And I will take my part and help in not playing Jango.
Yeah, I've done that as well.
Yeah.
I've tried not to be part of the problem.
Yeah, I'm building 3 decks right now. I'm building a Obi-Wan, I'm building a Yoda, and I'm building a Rex. So that's what I'm doing. It's far from Jango.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm also experimenting. I'm going to Lille in France, and
I
would love it to be a different meta than the Jango meta, just because it would be fun to not have the Jango meta there.
Yeah, and maybe people are tired of Jango, don't play it. I don't know.
And I mean, I don't have any problem with people playing. I understand why you take Jango to a tournament now. You want to do your best, and actually, it's a fun deck to play. And I mean, I usually don't have any problem with anyone playing any deck in the game.
No.
You should play what you think is fun, or what you think you do best with, or
Yeah.
however you think about it. But
100% so.
as you and me said, for us personally, we usually don't jump on like the best deck, or
True.
but that's how we like to play the game. I'm not saying that it's the wrong way to think.
No,
It's
no.
just it's from person to person, very different how you think about that.
You should play whatever makes the game fun for you. And if that is to always playing the best deck that is out there, you should totally do that. I 100% agree on that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Are we wrapping this up maybe?
Yeah, I think so. So we're gonna see with high expectation.
Yeah.
To see what Fantasy Flight does about this.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as I said, for me, the biggest thing is I really hope they do something.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Me too. We'll see. And we'll see if there's any Jangos tomorrow in our local group, because we are playing some tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So, but we have this. It's called Always Tell Me the Odds. So today I have an odds that you will try to guess, Magnus.
Yep.
And I did some calculations today with help with some AI. But so I hope this is right. But so when we were at the tournament in Malmö, you talked about you not drawing your vehicle cards using the triple dark raid 2 times. And when I played that, I had 6 matches where I did not draw 1 Plo Koon, which was, for me, was a little bit weird. So I calculated, or actually it was 4 matches I didn't draw him, but never mind. And that's a staple card in that deck to be able to win. But anyway, I calculated what the odds are for me not drawing 1 specific card in my 50 card deck in 6 matches if I draw for 10 turns. So the premises is that I have 50 cards in my deck. I have 1 specific card that I want to draw, and I have 3 copies of it. And then I play 6 matches, and all those matches goes up to turn 10. So I draw cards 10 times. First 6 cards, and then I draw 2 cards for 10 turns. Do you get the premises?
For nine turns.
For 9 turns,
so
yeah.
You draw like 24, so you draw half of your deck in all the games.
Yeah, exactly. So
you yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what is the chance for me not drawing 1 specific card that I have 3 copies of in my 50 card deck in those 6 matches?
Feels like it's got to be very low.
A percentage.
Yeah, I mean, only in like 1 game to not draw 1 out of 3 Plo Koons when you draw half of your deck, and then you do that 6 times. It's I'd say it's somewhere around maybe 0.5% chance.
I thought it was something like that, and I was very surprised when I got the answer. I can tell you that. Yeah. It's 2.05% for me not drawing that card.
Okay, it's that high.
It is that high, actually. So yeah, it's a fairly high chance for me not drawing it, and I thought it was way lower. But
I mean, to not do it in those 6 games. That's still very low.
It's still very low.
It's
it's like
only 2 games in 100 games. So
it's so you had 0.6% chance not drawing yours, so that was even worse though. But I was like, I wonder what the chances are. So I let an AI calculate for me.
Yeah.
And looking through the calculations, I was like, oh god, it was a long time since I did math. University.
Yeah.
So that's a 2.05% chance not drawing a specific card. Yeah.
That's still low, but
still low.
Yeah. You should have done it in your games.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so before we go, don't forget we have a Discord. You can join and maybe ask us some questions. We love to get questions we can bring up on the podcast and such. We also release our episodes to YouTube. The link is in the show notes. You can find both me and Marcus as Dragonfly and following in the Swedish or the international Discord. And thank you all for listening, and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.